I don't have to experience the fellowship of the believers, which what the Bible tells me I got to experience. But we forget that the God we serve is a relationship God.
Right.
That Jesus would wrap himself in flesh and come to earth to be in person so that we could be virtual? It's nonsense. And I think, I heard a mega church pastor not too long ago, and I called him up afterwards. I said, from another state, I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, the church has to adapt the next 5 years. He thinks it'll be primarily virtual. And I said, we can't say that stuff.
That makes me sad.
We are a relationship people. Everything's about relationship. It's about becoming sisters and brothers. That's how easy it is for me to disconnect from the pain of somebody else, because I just worry about my life. I'm in my house. And so I think that we have to be very strong. Some people tell me I beat up on my virtual people, and I probably do. But there is something about the presence of God in the fellowship of the believers that you can't get on your couch at home.
Absolutely.
And we have to teach that, and we have to preach that, and we have to draw folks back. They're not going to just come back, particularly, 2 years now, 3 years later? We have got to be able to say, this is important. And then they saw that happening. The business world went virtual. There's a lot of students who are paying tuition, going off school, paying a dorm fee, and they're going to classes virtually.
Yeah.
This is crazy. This is crazy. But I think we've lost the value of fellowship and relationship. And we have got to be very strong and say, no, that's not virtual, unless you're sick or you're in a hospital bed or you're out of state. I said I was trying to develop, I haven't found anybody who can do it. If somebody knows it, please tell me. I'm trying to find a way that people have to get a code to watch it virtually.
Special invite.
So you have to get the invite, yeah. You either have to be sick or you out of the state. So that my folks ain't gonna listen to it. If they don't have that cold, they can't listen. They sitting at home because it's cold outside. Okay, it was cold yesterday too, even out eating. But I think we have got to get back to understand the importance of relationship. COVID is over.
Thank you, Father.
But COVID practices, we're still practicing social distancing.
Literally. Pastor?
I think what happened when the pandemic came in, it created the biggest excuse we could ever have not to go to church.
Mm-hmm.
If you've been in church for years, like a lot of people have never experienced a disconnect from Sunday.
Yeah.
You've been going to church 15 years, 10 years, and the most you ever missed was 2 Sundays. And now you're at home. This is an experience you never had. And you're sitting there and you're enjoying what's on the screen, but all of a sudden, you forgot, you got some rolls that you baked, and in the oven that's still there, you got some food over there. You get up just for a minute while the choir's singing, or the praise and worship is going on. You go get your food, and when you sit down, your cup of coffee,
Yes.
it's like, I ain't never had it like this.
It's nice.
And the question comes now, why do I need to go to church?
Right.
I'm sitting here, I lifted my hands,
Yeah.
the word touched me, I started crying, I said, praise the Lord, I thank you, Jesus, hallelujah. Why do I need to go?
Right.
When I can be right here, you went online, you said, we can't say that I'm okay with tithes, I went online and paid my tithes, and they gave you every excuse in the world not to come. He said it, the power of fellowship and the power of connectivity. Listen, what we're seeing with the generation that we're dealing with that's under us are young people. AI, social media has created the biggest disconnect we've ever seen.
Right.
And so, if we embrace social non-involvement, it becomes easier for them not to become involved. Because the reality is, when I came to church, I experienced something that I did not experience at home in fellowship by itself. Hey, how you doing? Coming to church became the tool of learning. We saw families, husbands, wives do things. Hey, I didn't even know you could do it like that.
Yeah.
It was a learning tool.
Right.
it didn't just touch us spiritually, and that's the whole purpose, but it touched us socially. It touched us economically. We learned, we emulated things. We saw people stand and be strong. We saw people grow, and that growth became inspiring. And so now we're at home, sitting at home. A single person by themselves now, sitting at home. They're enjoying it, but they're missing the social connectivity that allows humanness to be able to expand through a touch. Because there is no substitute for the human touch.
Right.
Absolutely.
You can sit at home, but there's no substitute. I know we got away from taking your neighbor by the hand because of the pandemic.
Right.
Because fear came in.
Right.
Fear. And I'm sure all pastors experience this. I had some people who never missed church. I don't care what we had. If it was a prayer meeting, I don't care. This person was there. I ain't seen them.
Okay.
You know, I would like to layer that too, Pastor, because it makes me think about our children. I got my foundation in the church. My first training in speaking in front of crowds was in the church with our speeches and programs. And so if they're not there to get the tutelage from our Sunday school teachers and leaders, then how do we grow that next generation of the church? So I'm glad that you weighed in on that, and the message is clear. Those watching virtually, stop watching virtually and come to the Expo and then go to church tomorrow. But in all seriousness, I want to get to the questions that were designed for this panel. Those of you who are just coming in, thank you so much for joining us. And here's the first one that they're asking. Why has the church been, and I think you may have touched on this, but you may want to expound, such an important institution in the community, and where we're seeing it being implemented going forward?
Well, I think part of it is that the church has always been, I think, not only the voice of justice, but the voice of hope. You know, and God, if there's anything we need right now in this society, is hope. I mean, so many people are depressed, so many people are hopeless, so many just say, I was telling the Pastor Henson when we came in earlier, I don't even know what I'm fighting today, because something new came out today. I was fighting yesterday about something else, and something new came out today. There's just so much going on, and people are suffering so much. And so I think the church was not only a voice of hope, and the church was there to comfort and to strengthen, and to challenge and to grow and to call us together as sisters and brothers in this disconnected world. I mean, we don't know neighbors anymore. We don't know people across the street. We don't talk to one another. We're not in our houses. And then what I think Pastor mentioned is fear. So many people live in fear. And I think I wanted to touch quick on what he said earlier about the fear of the church. There's so many. We were doing something downtown not too long ago about Target, and we were talking about doing a civil disobedience in the front of the doors at Target. And I had these pastors say to me, "No, we could get arrested." Yeah, people died, and we're going to get arrested. I mean. And then they can take away our 501c3. As Pastor mentioned, in the 60s, you know, people understood the cost of discipleship. They don't understand that today. It's a bloody gospel. He says, pick up your cross and follow me. Oh, where are you going? To die. Oh, dang, is there something else I can pick up? I mean, no, it's going to die, but so the church must be, and I think the other thing that the church has to do, we can't keep teaching and preaching to our young people, you have a destiny, you have a purpose, you have a divine plan God has for you, all true, without also fighting and dismantling the systems that are keeping them from reaching that destiny. And that was one of the things the church has responsibility for fighting. When government's wrong, when education systems are not teaching when certain people are not being serviced, when inequity and lack of access and opportunity, we have to fight and dismantle those systems. And Dr. King said, remember the funeral of the 4 little girls, he said, we must arrest the bomber who placed this bomb in the church, but we also must arrest the society that created the bomber.
Yes.
And so our job as the church is so important, you know, for strengthening and growing, I think, individuals who are strong in their faith, but also to fighting the systems and demanding and being the voice of the vulnerable and the voice of the forgotten. And so I think the church's role is more important than ever in a society that doesn't, excuse me, give a damn about people. And certainly doesn't give a damn about poor people.
Indeed. Pastor?
The church has always been the most consistent institution in our community. Historically, it has always been. I think one of the challenges that we see today is the church has become more attractive but less effective. We have, it's attractive. It draws things to attract you. But when we talk about effectiveness, you said that I learned how to speak. That's effectiveness that affects generations, affects people's lives. It was never designed to just to be an attraction. It was designed to have effect that becomes effective.
Right.
I have an effect on your life, but my effectiveness is the tool that allows you to feel the effect of my effectiveness. And so when we see the church, it's powerful. It's powerful today. But the problem is the church has become distracted from its central responsibility to build lives in Christ and to build lives socially. And so when we understand that, you know, when you talk to young people today, my grandson, who's 10 years old, I was talking about the rotary phone, you know.
He was like, what?
He asked me if I knew Fred Flintstone. You know what I'm saying? They are not where we were.
Right.
But we have to see the things to which were given to us that had an effect that was effective as well. That helped to develop us to become strong. Because you don't march in front of people. You don't stand in front of people and put what you have on the line if you have no strength.
Right.
So we have built people who are attractive but no strength.
Yeah.
And if your strength is small in the day of adversity, you can't stay. And so I think that that's the thing that we have to do is allow people to experience the strength again of the church by guiding Christ. He said it. The church has always stood for justice, stood for right. And you can't do this. You can't do this without somebody having some criticism about what you do. You can't do it. And I tell people all the time, a conversation filled with criticism is easy when you're not part of the solution. When you're not part of the solution, it's easy to have a conversation filled with criticism. But when you get to the point where you understand the necessity of what we give, what we do, the necessity of standing up and saying, hey, I know that this is going to cost me something. When I finish doing this, I'm going to be viral. When this takes place, and I think again, that fear has interrupted what we are, but the church has always been. If you took the church out of our community, the community would collapse in 30 days. It might not even take that long. It would collapse. It would collapse. I know people say you got all these little churches, but if you move every church out of our community, it wouldn't last 30 days. Because it has been the only institution that has provided any type of safety for us consistently. When I say I mean consistently, because it's dependent. Your church, how long the church been in existence?
1916.
1916. Our church is 61 years old. Find me another institution in our community that's that old. You can't find one. Yes.
That's great. 124 in the back. 107?
75 September.
75.
Oh, we're shouting the churches out. I like that. I like that.
My point exactly.
Yeah.
So find me a store.
Right.
Find me a business.
Right.
Find me any institution in our community that's been around that long.
Okay. So I gotta say 107. Trinity Baptist.
Yeah.
Pastor Dry Gardner. Because he'll see it and call me out tomorrow. But I want to tell a very, very, very touching story regarding the Black Women's Expo in the church. So for those of you who have been following the story of the 30th anniversary, because of the rollbacks with DEI, some of the corporate sponsors had to either pull out or draw back their support of the Black Women's Expo, starting with Johnson & Johnson. How many of you probably put some baby oil or some lotion on before you got here today? As long as we have been supporting that brand, they were unable to, or they said this event was no longer inclusive enough. And in the words of Mary Green, it was created so that we could be included as Black women. So how ironic 30 years later, their backing was withdrawn. And then in comes the church. Young man by the name of Otis Moss III got wind of this, and some other pastors like yourselves in Chicago. Bishop Smith made the call, clarion call, and then the next thing you know, it was the pulpit that pulled the Black Women's Expo forward to the success that it is today while we sit in this room. And so this is so profound and apropos that we speak about this today, being that institution. The churches are here. They have their small businesses from the various communities here represented at the Expo, and they encourage their congregations to come out and support as well as to donate. So I wanted to make that connection that the institution of the church has the backing, or they're backing the Black Women's Expo. And I think that deserves a round of applause. Thank you, pastors, for using your platforms that you have for decades and years to bring the message to our people and have effect. And after we affect, we effect. All right, before we move into Q&A, I have a couple of more questions, and then you all start formulating your questions. I mean, how often do we get to have an intimate setting with the men of the cloth? Because we're used to seeing you on TV. I'm just going to be honest. I only met Father Flagger at the Chicago Urban League maybe a couple years ago. Before that, it was straight TV, sir. That was it. I was like, what is he saying tonight? And he was unbothered by what other people had to say. He was like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're moving. And if you're not with us, you're against us, move out the way. Right? So, my next question from the team. What are some ways to get more people involved in the community initiative? So this is your commercial, if you will. We talked about the virtual piece and let's come in, but what draws them in? What are some of the initiatives that you can give concrete examples that say this works, particularly when it comes to our young people? They move from different things to different things, and so to garner their interest and to keep them consistent with being involved. What say you, Father Flagg?
I think part of it, particularly young people today, they don't like to sit around and talk a lot. They want action. They want what you're going to do, how you're going to make a difference. And I think one of the things we try to do, I know, at least at Sabina, is be active in the community. You know, I've had a pastor some time ago said to me, so you gave out 400 food boxes, or you fed 1,000 people last Friday, but they ain't coming to your church. And I said, you would be surprised how many people who said, because I saw what you did, I want to come check out why you do it, and check out the church. And I think we've had more young people that have come saying, I like the fact that you're making an impact in the neighborhood. I like the fact that you run a youth center. I like the fact that you run an employment center. I like the fact that you help people who come out of jail. So I think our actions in the community draw people. Like kind of there but not connected, that doesn't draw them there.
Right.
But if they see a church that is connected with the neighborhood and identifies with the neighborhood, Like we go out every Friday night on these peace walks. And you would be surprised how many people, when I said, well, what time is your service? You know, because you came out, I see you out here every Friday, and you see the people out here walking and going door to door, talk about the service you offer, and we'll come on a Sunday morning and say, oh, God, I want to check this place out. So I think our actions, our involvement, our connection to the community is what brings people from the community into the church.
I love it. The peace walk. It's the peace walks for me.
Absolutely. If you don't touch people, you never get people to respond. The church, his church, other ministries like my church, during the pandemic, we passed out like almost 60,000 boxes of food that fed a family of 5 each during the pandemic. That's not uncommon for us.
Right.
The work in terms of touching people, the church is forever busy doing that. Jesus said, by this all men will know that you're my disciples, by the love that you have. And it becomes the strongest tool that allows us to extend ourselves in love. Last summer, I started doing something because I was telling my people in my church is, you all talk about the church growing. The church ain't growing because none of y'all brought nobody to church. Statistics say that 89% of the people you invite will come to church, but less than 10% of people invite people to church.
Right.
Say that stat again.
89% of people that you invite will come,
Right.
but less than 10% of people invite them.
Right.
So what I started doing last year, before I would go to church, I stopped on 79th, the bus station. I went and got dollar coins, and I would pass dollar coins out and just share, talk about Christ. Wasn't out there in a long time. Yesterday, I had a young man come to church who was there for job development. And so I'm talking to him, and then all of a sudden he says, you know what? I thought that was you. He said, but now I know for sure it's you. He says, I was getting off the bus, and you just started telling me about I could be somebody. He said, and I was battling whether or not to go to college. He said, I went to college because of what you told me. Oh, and I said, did I give you a point? He said, I still got it.
Oh, wow.
Self-effectiveness.
That's cool.
If you don't, that's what we gotta do. We gotta stop being so comfortable in these chairs.
Yeah.
We done got so comfortable in the chairs and we ain't involved in a peace march or walk against violence. And let me tell you something. If you walk past the shooter and don't talk to him, you should have just stayed where you were.
Right.
Somebody got to talk to the shooter.
Yeah.
Somebody, that's the power that we have as a church community that becomes effective, that changes whole communities. Sense of violence has changed the whole area we have from just being effective. The effect is visible. And that's the type of thing we have to do. It's not just on the spiritual leaders.
Right.
Well, what the preacher's going to do? I want to go to church and ask what y'all going to do.
Right.
Everybody asks what the preacher going to do. What are the people in the pew going to do?
Right.
Because we all got kids. I got grandchildren, and we all got nieces and nephews, and got issues and stuff going on, and little Snooky Pookie that, everybody knows little Snooky Pookie. He got a rep in the street and all that kind of stuff. We have to show the power of God's love that transforms any life, no matter what the condition might be. And that's the power of power.
Thank you. Can we give our panelists a hand? We're going to transition into the Q&A. Miss Betty, how much time do we have? Are we till 4? Okay. I definitely want to capture some of the thoughts of the panelists, particularly when it comes to the actions of the people and the parishioners and those who may be on the fence about whether getting involved in that. The first point was physically being present. Let's bring it back. COVID is over. Everybody tuning in. It's over. And while we offer virtual opportunities, the first should be in person. That way you can definitely get involved. And that leads me to my next point. Being in person, then being engaged. When you get there, it's not just a seat holding on a pew for you, but there are opportunities for us to be a part of those peace walks and the food giveaways and coming up with great initiatives. I always like that mantra where when you bring up an idea, then the leader says, oh, well then that's a good idea. You should lead that, right? Like, you know what you all should do, know what you can do to help get that movement started or whatever that idea is. All right, so I know that this is a grand opportunity to ask questions of these great spiritual leaders, and we're going to start it off with Miss Betty Magnus.
Okay, so, fellowship, can you hear me?
Okay.
Fellowship, every 5th Sunday in the year, we have no church. Our church is closed, and we go out into the community. I sing with the choir, so we go to various nursing homes, assisted living facilities. They go to UCAN, they go to